need some help?
Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about Westworld. It is my personal pleasure to announce that we finally have a glimpse at what's to come for Season 3. It's a gentle reminder to start getting ready, to prepare and pack light and keep an open mind going into a big, bold world. Will we see life outside of the park? Will we see just another theory about Futureworld blossom for 9 episodes and then crash and burn on episode 10? This video is designed to discuss exactly that and so much more. Today we are breaking down the very first trailer for Westworld Season 3. Before we jump into the video, I just want to announce that my very first novel, Cyclic, has gone live for pre-order. If you're interested in a sci-fi story with some real Westworld level twists throughout, I encourage you to order your copy today. It fills me with so much joy to say this. Let's overthink an HBO show about robots. Starting off, we're quietly introduced and reminded to the soundtracks that Westworld assembles so brilliantly. The tune that's playing is Brain Damage by Pink Floyd, and here is exactly what they're telling us. On screen are the excerpts being sung. The part in yellow discusses the idea of how society creates beautiful things, like a beautiful green lawn, for instance, and then places signs telling people to keep off the grass. That following those signs, not enjoying the landscape for games and daisy chains and laughs, that is the real insanity taking place. When compared to the next cut, it asserts that if the world comes crumbling down, the dam breaks or societal norms change, or temptation of embracing what you really want to do becomes too much, that I'll be right there with you. I'll be insane or I'll be a loon with you. And this relates to the overall story of Westworld because it's the idea of the bicameral mind. It's also the idea of humans acting robotic and unfeeling, and the robots showing humanity. I think based on the words coming from this person's mouth, we're meant to take this one of two ways. The more straightforward is that our lovely Aaron Paul, who I adore, is a human. That the introduction of these hosts and this technology overall was meant to make their lives easier across the board. They were promised to remove all the low-end jobs that no one wanted so that they could exist in paradise. But like he states, the rough edges are the only thing that he's hanging on to. I read this as the only thing keeping him alive. Equally, if you recall William, it was those rough edges that actually made him feel whole, made him feel real. So it's entirely possible that they're alluding to that exact thing, showing us the world outside was blissful, cured of disease as Ford stated, but not for everyone. You know, trouble exists in paradise. And this was actually something that I discussed in a previous video, how everyone coming to the park was the wealthy 1%. So yeah, you know, we've never really seen what it's like for the other people who can't afford to come to the park. So yeah, all of these align to the idea that Aaron Paul is a human. At the very end, Dolores reveals herself, needing help, and what better way to show her that all humans don't deserve to die than making her fall in love with a human. This change of heart, I theorize, at the end of last season as well. It would need to happen to make us care about her again. In Season 2, she became full Mad Queen, burning down King's Landing, or something like that. The point is, if Aaron is human, I believe that he will exist to balance her out, to give her life meaning, to show her what real humanity is, to show her what it's like when you're not dealing with the 1% wealthy elite who can afford to rape and pillage defenseless cowboys and cowgirls. At the end of Season 2, she left the park ready to wreak shop on all humanity. But not all people deserve to die because of the actions of a few. And I think that we'll see that internal conflict arise with the introduction of this character. I think it would also make a lot of sense in terms of character arc to have him either die at the end of the season or at the end of the entire series, and be the catalyst that actually triggers that foreseen extinction of humanity. But before we guess the end of Westworld Season 3, consider Bernard. Bernard also exists outside of the park now, free from the puppeteers, but also doesn't wish to destroy all humans. His role could equally be that of caring for the little human man. Dolores' dialogue roughly hinted as much in the final shots of Season 2. It's tricky, but this is all assuming that Aaron Paul's character is human in the first place. Now we need to discuss the idea that he is not a human, but in fact, a robot. What? Alright, jokes aside, This is one of the dilemmas that this show will always face. No one knows for certain, and that uncertainty both pushes the show forward by better immersing us in what the real human characters are experiencing, questioning the dogma of their reality, and it also hurts the show because at some point it becomes a gimmick. Exhausting, even. The reason I believe that this could be a host is that there's some evidence that we're actually seeing Futureworld here. Futureworld, if you're unaware, is the sequel to the original Westworld film. It was the park of the future. Instead of immersing yourself in the past, they simulated life skiing on the moon, spaceships, and virtual reality. Since the layout of the park has always been masked in shadows, the idea of Futureworld has always been looming. In fact, we still have 2 parks confirmed on the Delos website that need to be revealed to us. With the introduction of Futureworld into an already future world, the idea that Dolores ever left the park can also be challenged here. Though I think if they make her escape into the real world, not into the real world, but in reality Futureworld, it's taking away the progress that Dolores has made, unless this is later on in the season and she's coming back into the park to liberate more hosts, which I think could very well happen. If you look at the wall in this final scene, we can see a maze and a blank host in the background. The maze could be appearing in Futureworld like the maze appeared in Westworld and Shogun World as evidence that this awakening was happening across all of the hosts at the park. However, just as impactful, I think, would be this being the real world and us seeing exactly that. The hosts outside of this park, the ones that made this person's life not as fulfilled as they want it to be, starting the journey to consciousness. Some additional perspective that Dolores did escape is that in an interview, the showrunners discuss how they're starting small and working outward. The life of the hosts inside the park in season 1 becoming the escape from the park in season 2. Then what comes next in season 3 is assumed the real world. I personally lean toward both. I mean, we could be seeing both the real world and events in the park. Aaron Paul being a host or a human makes perfect sense. In fact, the trailer was designed specifically to remind us why we enjoy Westworld, the thrill of the hunt. It's perfectly constructed to not give too much information. Some things demand that he's human, other things demand that he's a host, inside a more advanced park or outside in the real world. He operates a tiny screen with dangerous and, dare I say, fun things to do, either a host on a loop to entertain guests or a guest taking part in a narrative. The symbol at the top of the screen also pointing to another park. Surely we're being shown this for a reason. It's not just who makes his phone. It's also hard to determine what our future looks like when compared to a show already set in the future. These interesting looking vehicles could be fantasy in their present day, or that could just be how people travel normally. The repetitious nature of people working out, the automation, the comparison to this android even, which could either represent the working class humans not liberated with the introduction of robots, like they're supposed to do, or that Aaron here is the next generation of robot working with this depreciated bot who will work until he dies, then kind of gives perspective of Aaron's character as a host coming to a liberated state of mind, that, that will be him. The symbols we're witnessing from his perspective could be showing us that he's on that exact path. The lights of the people going to bed all turning off near the exact same time, as if ending a narrative. The light across his face and opening his eyes as if programmed to react this way. Even the fact that he speaks about life being different aligns to this reoccurring theme of awakening. All could be taken as signs of a host, all shown for that exact reason. Again, I want to come back to this guessing game being exhausted at this point. I hope that what we're seeing takes place in the first episode, and we'll see irrefutable evidence for characters that are introduced that they're either hosts or not, and that won't be the big reveal of every season. However, on my 300th watch of this trailer, I noticed something that I felt that I was fated to see. This security camera. See, in real life, I designed physical security systems for the Department of Labor. My eye kept catching this, but I couldn't put together why this was so important. Then it hit me. This is the key that we can use to decrypt this entire scene. It's not real, because this camera should not exist in either the Futureworld park or the real world that they are in, because in the parks, we've never seen the Truman-style cameras that record and surveil everything. And outside of the park, they have definitely advanced past these large domes that we use in our current day. They are either the world's worst criminals, or this is just another park with a storyline that they're going through, because they aren't wearing anything to hide their faces. If this was a legitimate camera in the real world, And the scene is framed that Aaron Paul's character is stealing money for potentially a sick grandmother or mother. And yeah, if this scene isn't real, who's to say that that sick grandmother isn't just a narrative, isn't just his cornerstone even. But now I turn to you all. Cast your vote as a comment below. Is he real? Is this Futureworld? Is he a host? Are you real? Can you prove it? Who is your cornerstone? Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to continue supporting content like this, be sure to subscribe. Also, if you're interested, be sure to stop by the Amazon page and check out Cyclic. Pre-orders right now would mean the world to me, just to generate some buzz around this. And yeah, I mean, I've worked on this novel for years, and it's finally coming to fruition. So big shout out to everyone who supports that. Big shout out to everyone on Patreon who supports this channel. The top donors this month are Robert Holtz, Chris Cole, Michael Link, and Kelly Zahara. Much love, everybody, and I can't wait to talk to you all again soon.